Hi, my name is Anjali and welcome to Fem Stories. Fem Stories is a platform where we are hosting the female entrepreneurs, the leaders and the CEOs of today's ecosystem of startups.
नमस्ते शार्क्स, मेरा नाम लावण्या है
और मेरा नाम कृति है
और हम दिल्ली से आए हैं और लिया क्लोथिंग को के फाउंडर्स हैं। लिया क्लोथिंग एक ऐसा फैशन ब्रांड है जो हर साइज और शेप की औरतों को सेलिब्रेट करता है। हमने एक प्रोप्राइटरी साइजिंग चार्ट भी डेवलप किया है स्पेसिफिकली इंडियन बॉडीज के लिए, ताकि चाहे आप एक्स्ट्रा स्मॉल साइज के हो या 5XL, सब women हमारे कपड़ों में कॉन्फिडेंट फील कर सकें।
Let's break up your return rate from like what are the RTOs like, what are the exchanges like, what are the returns like, what are the cancellations like, what is this, what is that. So there's a lot of technical work and it's almost like a boot camp, I would say, for prepping you for fundraising. So that I would say I was really grateful.
Come out stronger and you come out
100%.
more sharp about your business. So it's either ways, like I said, this is what I've heard as well. It's either way, it's a win-win.
Yeah.
For
but
all.
it can be a lot of like, of course, there can be heartbreak involved because you do put a lot through
Yeah.
it and it is very competitive.
If you don't make it, then it's a heartbreaking.
Yeah,
experience.
like even before I went on to, when you got the call for the selection, I wasn't sure if we had gone through because
Yeah.
we actually had it in a different round. And it was, I remember I got an email late at night. I actually ran from my room, burst into my parents' room. I was like, oh my God, we got selected. This is happening. And it was such an amazing experience. But even when you get there, of course, there's a lot of hesitation. There's a lot of like, okay, am I going to get a deal or not? How would that make me be portrayed? But I think one thing for anyone who's maybe even thinking about it or interested in it, something that one of my closest friends really helped me with when I'm not someone who usually gets very nervous, but before that I was like, oh, okay, shit. What if like nobody wants to invest?
Nobody wants to invest.
Yeah, and I was really scared about that because Lea means just so much to me.
Yeah.
And one thing she said is just, this is such a momentous like thing happening in your life.
Yeah.
Don't think about how it's going to end. Just enjoy it. Be in the moment and give it your best shot.
Yeah.
And I think that just really, it sounds so simple. It sounds so like
Yeah.
obvious. But I don't think it's something that we kind of are able to practice every
Yeah.
day. And once I did think about that, it's like, oh yeah, this is something that maybe I was dreaming about. Like,
Yeah.
like a teenage Lavu would be really happy and,
Yeah.
like ecstatic to even have this opportunity. So it's
No, I
just,
think
you
it's
go there
really,
and give it your
yeah.
best shot.
It's amazing to be in front of the investors, I think, because of two reasons. One is you're able to stand out of the box and be able to see your reality, right? This is who you are. And then how, and double clicking on that is whether you're actually worth putting the penny on.
Yeah, and
Right.
also, are you doing the right thing?
And the investors will look into it. Is this really worth putting the penny on? So
Yeah.
those two reality checks is what you actually go through it.
It's
Of course, there's a lot of
harsh, but it's
preparation.
necessary.
Yeah, it's important.
You need
It's
it. As
it's
a
very
business owner, that's what, like, the conversation we were having even
Yeah.
before we started.
Yeah.
It's not all glamorous. Being a founder,
It is
being
imperative to have that kind of a reality
have to
check.
know.
Yeah.
Because you
So
would rather
once
know
you
now
got the
2 years
funding,
later.
once
Yeah.
you got the funding from how many sharks did invest?
We got a 4-shot deal.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
So walk us through the journey after you got the funding from the 4 sharks.
So again, I'm not sure how much of that I can share.
Yes,
but
even
it's
if it
very
is
extensive.
10%.
It's very extensive.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of time. They have to do their financial, legal, secretarial due diligence. There's a lot of formalities to get done,
Yeah.
especially when you have a multi-shark deal. There are, if instead of having one touch point, you have 4
Yeah.
representatives from all 4 teams
Yeah.
and communications with everybody on what their requirements are, which can differ from the other. So it's,
Is it more headache to work with
in terms of like the requirements,
the
and
back and forths and all?
Of course.
There is more
it adds
work.
It. More touch
There
points
is more
means
work to
this
it.
thing.
Absolutely. I mean,
Yeah,
that's
but
obviously.
There's also more a potential upside.
Yeah.
Right. So it's,
So
you gotta do
what
it.
changed? Tell me 2 things that actually added to Lea before Shark Tank, and tell me 2 things that you think would have not changed after the Shark Tank.
I think 2 things that changed and 2 things that didn't change
Hmm.
after Shark Tank. I think first I'll go with the things that changed. I think the mindset, because we got so much kind of eyeballs on you so suddenly, so quick, and it kind of made you realize there's no other option. You're not an Instagram brand. You can't just be like, oh, we're homegrown, we're figuring things out. You gotta be at the industry level. You gotta be setting the stage for that. So you really gotta hold yourself to a higher standard. So operationally, getting that operational excellence in was just like, it wasn't a process. It had to almost happen overnight.
So you really had to get your operational rigor on after
100%. Yeah, because again, you get then you're thrust kind of into the limelight and the big leagues.
you're
and then
catapulted
people-
into your progress
Yeah, and
because
people
of
expect,
Shark
like,
Tank,
you
and
were
they
on
kind
Shark
of
Tank,
they
you
can
should
expect
be.
that out of you then
Exactly.
after that. Yeah.
So I think
makes
there's a
sense.
lot less in terms of forgiveness and room for error, even with the customers, because of course they expect excellence because
Yes.
it's been vetted and it's Shark Tank approved.
Yes.
So I think that's something that changed. And another
Nice.
thing was just I think the scale at which we wanted to grow, like the kind of mindset that maybe even I had, and how I was even prepping.
Which
the
is why
team.
you went in the first place, right?
Exactly.
Because you wanted to scale into the western space of the country where there is none. There is no
Not
designers.
none. Of course, there's so many.
It doesn't come
amazing
to your
ones.
mind as readily
Yeah.
as you would want to, like Sabya
Ideally.
Sachi and Manish, but then you would like to have your name in the western thing.
For any
which is
Game
why
of Thrones fans, just like the Iron Throne is there
Yes.
to take. I mean, there are a lot of amazing contenders,
Yes.
but I wanted to put my name in the hat.
Yeah.
That I'm going to be competing here, and
Yeah.
then that kind of you got to shift gears and you got to get serious about it.
Yeah.
So those two things I think really changed.
Great.
And two things that didn't change is the basic three foundational pillars upon which the brand was started. The mission was always to promote sustainability, size inclusivity, and body positivity with everything that we did. I don't think that's something that's ever going to change. So that remained true.
that
we're gonna
remains
be
the core
true.
of who
Yeah.
what your brand is.
So even with quality, there's so many people who are like, okay, why are you so expensive? But like, we really want to buy, but how? But I'm like, but our whole commitment is to quality.
Yeah.
And I can't, if I have, like I think like in the making of a product, people forget because they're so removed from the process and
Yeah.
only see the end piece. There's a cutting master, there's a CAD master, there's tailors, there's finishing ladies, there's
Yeah.
QC, there's someone who packs it, there's delivery
I think in
people.
India, the pricing game, what I have experienced, if it is within 1,000, this is a mindset thing.
ridiculous,
Then
though.
it's good. Okay, 1,000 is okay. But if it's above 3K, then it's an expensive thing.
Yeah.
Between 1 and 3, I don't think there is a huge rush or a gush of a product line. Under 1,000 is where the optimal pricing is, what they call it. But I feel it is so disdainful. I don't think this is the right way to price any product, and that's the reason I asked you in the beginning, how did you price your product? What was your strategy behind pricing your corset, based on the design, based on the clothing cost,
course.
based on
We-
what your time and effort went into it?
We
So
studied
it's
the
important.
market and we saw what the competitors were doing. Of course, you have to benchmark.
Yeah.
So of course we did the benchmarking, but the commitment to sustainability that was there in our like main mission, it's not just about using like recycled raw materials. It's not about the materials that you use. It's also about making sure that there's a safe working environment for your
Yeah.
karigars,
Yeah.
for your producers,
For your staff.
that there's an ethical wage being provided.
Yeah.
They have coverage from these things,
Yeah.
and they can also lead
Yes.
fulfilling lives.
Yes.
For me, I know almost all of my tailors by name. I
Yes.
know the people who build that product, and they're the ones building this company.
Yes.
I always say that.
And you
the thing
value
is-
them.
Yeah, and you cannot possibly produce a product and sell it to someone for 500, 700 rupees
Yes.
unless you're exploiting at every single layer.
Yes.
And that's not something that I'm okay with, and I don't think that's something that anybody should be okay with.
And that adds to your cost. That's how you explained the cost of that.
Of course.
Yeah.
And also my product
are you-
speaks for itself.
Yes.
The thing is that the quality, this piece I think I've had since end of 2022. I wear it all the time. Like that, I do rigorous testing of our product. Like if we launched swimwear, I was like wearing it straight to the beach, to the pools, and seeing, okay, how does it shrink? Does it act? Does it stay in place? Does it provide the support throughout? So there's a lot of testing also goes, and the kind of materials that we also use in our production, they're very different. So we're not using flimsy things that are cheap, that are going to be not screen friendly. So it's at every point, if you're using premium materials, premium services, premium product you're building, then you have to have premium pricing. And
Yes.
even for that, I think our pricing is very competitive compared to what other people who are providing things at this quality would charge it for. Like
So I
that's
have-
something that Vinita during even our episode said. Initially it was like, okay, but why is it so pricey? And then she actually held the product in her hand and saw it, and she was like, okay, you know what? Getting something of this quality, the way that it's built at that price point,
Yeah.
I believe it. And that's why we're trying to be in
Did
retail.
they change the pricing at all? No. Or did they ask to change any price,
Not at
make
all.
any changes?
Obviously not. No.
Okay.
They were
And,
very happy with this. Once you realize what the product is and
Yes.
the quality of it,
Yes.
it's actually very beautifully priced.
Gotcha. So, two questions. Do you plan to go global with it, or the planning is just within India?
No. I definitely have my eyes on international expansion,
Okay.
especially with, I would say, we've been giving all the love to Lea, but talking about Saanjh, it started because all of our customers, they were pairing our corsets with saris and lehengas and just looking stunning doing it.
Yeah.
And that's why we realized, okay, people want this.
Yeah.
And when we did launch it, we got, again, amazing, such a warm feedback and welcome. And
Yeah.
since then, it's grown so magnificently to the point where it's contributing, it's more than pulling its weight in terms of the contribution to revenue that it does.
Yes.
And one thing that we realized, working with marketplaces, say like Pernias or Azza, over 45% of my orders come from international clients.
Oh, nice.
Because it's a very modern ethnic brand, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of like NRIs, Indian Americans, Indians living in the UK, all over the world.
Yes.
They love that it's like still wearable.
Yes, and it can
it's-
go with a lot of other like it's like
Exactly.
a jeans. You can just buy one and you can pair it with anything,
Yeah.
right? You can
And
style with anything else.
So it's like the proof of concept was there that there is a market for this in the international space. So
Sure.
we're actually currently actively onboarding marketplaces there in the US and the UK to make Saanjh and even Lea looks more easily accessible to Indians
Nice.
abroad.
Awesome.
Because we do get a lot of orders and a lot of business from that population. So international
Great.
expansion is definitely on the market.
That's awesome.